Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's August 11th, 2010. I have my pillow. That kind of cuts into the drama when it's like, oh, and there's just a guy like holding a pillow, just like hugging it, like being affectionate. But either way, it's Day 9 Daily number 164, but I want you to focus on that date, August 11th. It's my brother's birthday in American time. I actually called him yesterday with my hand. And we had a nice little chat. Oh, happy birthday, brother. And it was really great and all that good jazz. So he's 26, I think. So 26 years ago today, my mom pooped out my brother. It's awesome. So delighted that that occurred because he's pretty cool. So you should definitely give him a shout out on Team Liquid. I believe there is a thread about there where you can just go, hooray, Nikki, and etc. So for any of you who are newtimers here on the Day 9 Daily. This is the Day 9 Daily where we try to help you be a better gamer. Today we're going to be checking out a replay by the illustrious, talented, and totally kick-ass, generally jovial fellow, Josh Clay. Now, for any of you who don't know this guy, just go to www.joshuaclayart.com and oogle, because he's so good. And I actually had this celebrity-esque moment with him because, I remember when I first learned of the illustrious Josh, he just like friended me on Facebook, and his Facebook profile picture had like this really cool art piece, and I was like, oh, that's totally awesome. It looks a lot like my favorite artist, Alex Pardee. And Josh goes, oh yeah, he's one of my friends, and like my knees went out. I was like, I was like freaked out because, you know, I don't know if you guys do this, but I develop affections for like people I will never meet, you know, like Alex Pardee. I would like, oh, wake up, oh, did he update his DeviantArt page and just refresh it a couple times? Oh, cool, he posted one new thing this week, and I'd check it out and I'd tweet about it and all this good jazz. And then he knew that person. It was totally awesome. So Josh Clay, for any of you who didn't know, has also done another really awesome, sweet, kick-ass propaganda poster for the Blizzard Dominion propaganda competition. And even though it didn't win, it was actually the best. So it was the best one ever. So in our hearts, Josh. And so, of course, he was asking about a replay, and I was just like, well, friggin' send it to me. Now, Josh is... I hope he's not watching, because I'm not going to say I don't believe Josh is like tip-top level, crisp, heroic diamond player. But that's the point, is because he is an average Starcraft fellow. So the point of today's daily is to just look at your typical, usual style of gameplay that you'd see as you're starting to get better. Yesterday was a gold level play, or two gold level players duking it out. And it was a lot about some of the base fundamental mechanics and all that good stuff. And this is Josh. This is Grimwolf spawning at the top, and down here at the bottom is Gop, as the evil blue Protoss. I mean, he has to be evil because he has EU in his name. I can't be like, oh, the valiant, wonderful, beautiful Gop. So unfortunately, though he might be a nice guy, in this case he is a villain. So we have Josh spawning here at the top, and I also wanted to relay another story. Because, you know, like my suite and like the people I live with are just awesome. I have like a bunch of awesome ass people who do nothing but play games and video games and board games and card games and all sorts of games. And they had some of their friends over, and one of them was asking me about Starcraft because, you know, he just heard that I was some loser who sat in my room playing Starcraft all the time, which is true. So he says, so he's like, so, you know, I'm really new, so I'm wondering what I should do in a game. Like, I get a little confused in this case. And then I went into oh, well, you need to have a plan. You need to, you know, sort everything out. It's important to learn between games. And then he goes, dude, I've played 11 games of StarCraft 2, alright? I'm super friggin' clueless, right? I have no clue at all what to do. I don't even know what forming a good plan means. So most of his decision-making is happening within the game, and that's it's kind of like, good point. So I'm going to try to address that sort of issue as well today. So we're going to be going into the Josh cam relatively frequently, and then, you know, occasionally popping back to the everybody cam. But so Josh actually wrote to me, and he said the following, that his plan in this game was to go Mutalisks and Zerglings, and then to get Ultralisks. That is such a simple plan. No other details, just that is what he wanted to do. Makes sense. Seems absolutely fine. And, you know, I could gripe on stuff like, oh, after this Overlord finished, look how long these drones took to finish. But of course, look how long these took to start. That's something that we could improve to have our play be a little bit better. But even so, I'm not going to focus too much on that little timing stuff because that's really a lot of what I did yesterday. So either way, Josh sending out a good old drone to check this out. Looks like the opponent is building a gateway here. Usual sort of thing. And for any of you who are really new, like I'm talking have not really played that many games, just make sure you have a very, very weak, like a one-sentence long plan that encompasses the whole game. So let's do one for each race. For Zerg, Josh's was, I'm going to go Mutalisk Zergling into Ultralisk. Notice Mutalisk and Zergling, some of the lower tech units. Ultralisk, one of the higher tech units. Done. Simple. Simple. Well, if I'm Protoss, I might say something like, I want to early expand and attack with a bunch of Colossus and Stalkers. Simple. Simple. Perhaps not as long. You know, what do you do after that attack with the Colossus and the Stalkers? We'll probably make more Colossus and more Stalkers, but that's okay. With Terran, you can say, I just want to make a lot of Marine Marauder medevac. That's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Just have one clear, clean, thought-out benchmark, and then you can start kind of playing around with it. So I'm going to go ahead and just cruise right into this game. And also, for some reason, it is 1,000 degrees in my room. Like, next time I come back to the camera, I'm going to be just, like, sweating. It's going to be super intense. I'm going to be like, don't worry, it's fine. You don't actually have to have a big game plan. It's all just relax. Everything's going to be fine. You're going to be looking at me. I'm like this damp, moist, like, red nerd. But that's okay. I'm wearing a red shirt, so at the very least, my fashion sense is in tune. Spawning pool finishing, everything looks good. We're going to go ahead and speed up the early game just a little bit. We're going to speed it up just a pinch, because I don't want to spend a lot of time focusing on things like the exact timing of when these larvae come out. Don't want to spend too much on that. Just basic broad things. So let's actually slow it down again. Overlord sees 2 gates and a forge. Alright, cool. So what do we see our Zerg hero doing? He is not expanding. He had almost enough money to. Could have probably saved up and tossed an expo down, but didn't. Now, a lot of times what will happen, now I'm going to cheat a little bit because I actually know that Josh ends up making a lair. I've seen perhaps the first, like, 15 minutes of this game. First 10 or so. Yeah, look, getting a lair right off the bat. Great, great, great. Going for Mutalisk Zergling into Ultralisk. Smart to get the Mutalisks, right? That's part of the game plan. No problem at all. Now, one thing that'll happen is you will do things just because of the fact that you're doing them, right? You're a new player. You don't know, right? You just are declaring, I'm going to go Mutalisk Zergling into Ultralisk. And what I'm going to identify here is that what Josh is doing is not expanding against a build order that would be good against an expanding Zerg. In other words, 2 gate, 2 gate, 2 gate. Very good at an early expanding Zerg. Very good at messing with him. Very good at being obnoxious. You have to have some pretty good finesse and hand control to be able to just manage that. So that's great. That's fine. But what I want you to note is that there's no reason to really be aware of that. There's no reason at an early level to have that understanding. You can just sort of naively do it, and what's important is to be aware of what feels nice. So for instance, if I were, you know, the Zerg player here, and this were one of my early games, I'd want to say, okay, I didn't expand when I had the money to, and I felt safe this game. I felt really, really safe. Didn't feel like anything bad could happen. And if you just start listening to what feels right and wrong, you can get a very good sense of what are good responses, and you can start doing more thinking as opposed to kind of naively doing. At this point, again, I want to emphasize for the millionth, billionth time, it is not a huge deal if you are looking at this spot as a Zerg player in this moment and not thinking a ton about this expansion. If you're just thinking, I'm going to make a layer because I'm going to make a layer, that's okay to do. The most important thing is that you first begin following a plan instead of you know, doing some huge crazy junk in the game. So, you know, UGOP, just doing the usual thing, building up units, making some photon cannons. I like the spacing here. Notice units can sort of slip in and return back into the main. We haven't walled ourselves off. Also, this one space means that we can hit roaches, and roaches can't hit our cannons. Cool, great. little stuff. Ooh, I love the fact that, we see Mr. Clay sort of poking his Zerglings around. Might look too early to do this, but a lot of hidden buildings go down here. A lot of times Stargates get built here, or you'll see a Stargate get built up here. Very good to scout that sort of stuff. Pretty good with the Queen on the energy. Energy's pretty low. We're at about 30 energy, and we're going to be adding on an extra set of larvae, and we've already begun expanding the creep tumors. I'm going to go ahead and speed things up because this is a relatively long game, and I wanted to get to some of those more crazy late game decisions that you might end up having, and we'll start talking about that once we get there. But for now, let's just focus on naively following a plan and why that works out well for us. So again, what you might notice right here, let me actually back up just a moment. Yeah, 400 minerals. So as a Zerg player, again, you're naively following your build. You're not thinking too extensively. You're not trying to clog your brain with unnecessary overthinking. You just build your Mutalisks and you say to yourself, wow, I have 400 minerals. Or if that's a little bit blurry, yeah, look, I have 400 minerals. Oh, cool. I can still get all these Mutalisks, and then I can throw down an expansion. So then, because of this awareness that you had, you can then say, maybe I could be able to build this a little bit earlier. And that does turn out to be true, that when your spire's about halfway done, you can pop a hatch down at your expo. But if you don't know all these subtle timings, like the reason I know that timing is because I did exactly what Josh did. I did this exact build and went, oh, hey, I have a lot more minerals than I thought I would. Oh, cool, I guess I can expand now. And next game, I'm going to expand earlier. So here come the Mutalisks. Haha, Eugop. The villain, the treacherous Eugop. Getting a little bit punished here. Do I have sound on? That would, yeah, I would. That is something I would do. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Day 9 Daily, where I consistently don't have the sound on because I listen to music while I play replays. But alas, I eventually get there. I always get there. Don't worry, guys. I always get there. So now I'm going to talk just a little bit about the decision-making right now. Picking off a pylon, pretty cool. Taking out a cybernetics core. Pylons, always a good building to go for when you're harassing, just because it messes up their food, one, but probably more importantly, it just doesn't have a lot of health. It's easy to kill. By the same token, that's why when we have Mutalisks, we like to kill tech labs and reactors. They just don't have a lot of health. Sometimes their eyes get big and they go, and if I kill his Nexus, he will be boned. But of course, you never want to very win a game. You don't need a huge advantage. You just need somewhat of an advantage. So may as well take guaranteed little advantages as opposed to 50-50 chances at a huge swing. Always go for the guaranteed damage. Mutalisk poking around. Is Mr. Clay following his plan? Yep, he's going to go ahead and be transferring his drones. He's getting more queens. He's getting some overlords. He's continuing to try to harass. Getting a little bit behind on the macro. That's okay. That's one of those things that, you know, if this were your own replay, you should go, oh my goodness, I have over 400 minerals, and that's really bad, so I knew macro better next game. But, you know, want to talk a little bit more about the decision-making aspect. Other good stuff that Josh is doing, look at that mini-map, alright? I just selected Josh's Mutalisks and held V. Look at that mini-map. Holy jeez, he's going to see everything. Look at this huge spread involving Zerglings, Overlords, the Xel'Naga Watchtower, this Xel'Naga Watchtower, having a guy over at this expansion, having a guy down here and over here. Complete and total map coverage, essential. So important to do, especially for Zerg, who generally wants to be playing defensively, generally wants to be powering drones a little bit harder than the other two races. So by some miracle of damage distribution, none of these Mutalisks died. It actually cracks me up. How is that even possible? Oh my gosh, these guys just squeezing out. But yep, all of them orange, perfectly evening out that damage. So it looks like Mutalisk taking a little bit of hurt. So now I want to talk a touch about the idea of, now I'm in the moment, and I'm in a situation that I wasn't really that familiar with. Holy crap, what do I do now? That sort of thing, because this will probably happen. And I always say that in-game decision-making and in-game management is like the hardest thing to be good at. Because I'm not going to lie, StarCraft, StarCraft 2, these are completely non-intuitive systems. I mean, even the stuff that after years of playing, you hear it and you're like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like in Brood War, if the Terran player is making a ton of Goliaths, you can keep making Mutalisks as Zerg and keep expanding, and there's very little that the Goliathing player can do. What? Goliaths are supposed to be good against air. How does that make sense? It doesn't. You just need to try it a bunch and realize it's true. So that's why you always hear me talk about having a plan and adjusting in between and all that good stuff.